The most obvious and logical place to start would be the first anime, based on the third Tales of video game in the series, Tales of Eternia. Yeah, I know, kind of odd that it didn't start with Fantasia, but we will get to that soon. Released back in 2001, a full year after the release of the original game, and lasting for 13 episodes, Tales of Eternia the animation was produced by Xebec and Production IG, and it was loosely based on the original game, which at that point in North America, the game was called Tales of Destiny 2, which we shall cover the reasons why for the title change another time. So what's the original plot they came up with for this series? Well, the story follows Reed Herschel, or Rid as he is known in Japan, which I personally prefer, along with his childhood friend Farah Orsted, Kiel Zybel, Meredy, and her little animal friend Quickie on their journey to Mount Phalos to get to another world called Celestia. After the introductory episodes of the character's situation, it is then the plot begins to move. Sort of, as Rid gets captured by a mysterious swordswoman by the name of Maroni Bulcano that wants to make Rid her partner to take out a sea monster at the land of Verka. But this would only be the start of their problems, as three masked figures spy on our protagonist for mysterious reasons. When I say loosely based, I mean that despite the anime making references to where and when it takes place, with past memories of scenes that happened in the game in dream sequence form, and mentioning Celestians a lot, the island town of Verkan Nui was nowhere to be found on the world map in the original game, and was completely unique to the anime, along with its inhabitants that lived there. The best way to describe this anime would be to imagine if this was a side quest from the original story of the game in anime form, only it's completely original. While they do mention some things from the original game, the anime does try to give you a summary of it all, so new viewers won't be left in the dark. It's just the way they tell you it all is told in overused dream sequences. Now, I am no animation savant, since I always struggle when it comes to describing the technicals, but I can say without a shadow of a doubt that the animation looks pretty cheap most times. At first glance it looks borderline okay, but there are just plenty of instances where you will notice things moving in an odd way, characters changing positions suddenly in the same scene from different perspectives, and Morone's star tattoo on her arm keeps changing colour between blue or yellow, like the animators couldn't make up their minds. But despite that, the voice acting was as per usual quite good, as you expect from a Japanese anime which was on par with any Japanese voice acted Tales of game. This anime never made it out to the West due to expired licensing issues from Media Blasters, and so a dub does not exist. But animation problems was the least of this anime's worries. The series had a shopping list of flaws, starting with its pacing. It was so slow to get anywhere with the plot that most episodes were fillers, with nothing much going on, and nothing actually really starts until past the halfway point of the short series. Also, unlike most Tales of series, because Verkan Nui is like their version of Hawaii, expect tons of fan service in the form of girls in swimsuits, bath scenes, and hijinks that lead to inevitable cheesecake. There is so much cheesecake here that I would expect this show to be reviewed by fairies. I'm only really bringing this up because it made this less of a Tales of anime and sounds more like a typical Japanese ecchi comedy in tone. Were the animators pining for a typical fan service from the games to be on for more longer than 5 to 10 minutes? Speaking of comedy, despite how bland and uninteresting the adventure was, the comedy was actually pretty good. While there were moments where the punchline fell flat, but other times I found myself laughing at certain silly moments between the characters when they talked to one another with their clashing personalities, that I could seriously see some of these being extra scenes or sketches from the original game. Another thing I liked was how the anime built upon the lore of the game, by actually showing a dragon called a Drake that was only mentioned by name in the game. And I also liked the music that ranged from original to their own iterations of the awesome battle music, and the opening theme song was very upbeat. That just brought a smile to my face. As for the characters, Rid and Co's personalities were pretty much intact, except for Farah, who seemed to act bossy and easily angered more than the game was, showing that they got most of the characters right but took creative liberties on Farah's personality. But then we come to the original characters to the anime. They are okay, but they were kinda bland in both look and personality, and were not very memorable either, with the important ones taking up roles to reference a character from the original game in relation-wise. The main ones who got the most screen time were Karina, the travelling tone-deaf bard, who looks like Johnny if he was a girl, obviously less awesome, and Morone, who I will just rename to Morone Sue, due to the fact that she can do anything, with not only being competent with the sword, but also martial arts, using two specialties used by Rid and Farah, right down to shouting the same move names. And she even sings and plays a mandolin beautifully. I just can't hold my suspension of disbelief when it comes to her character. And then we come to the main antagonist. Yeah, they were not that great. Like the other original characters, they were uninteresting, with the only motivation being, I want vengeance against the world I hate because that's what my lineage had entrusted me with, story seen thousands of times. It also doesn't help that they do a couple of stupid things, leaving them vulnerable to counterattack, which, by the way, the series never took advantage of. The series also had many allusions to the original video game. When I say allusions, I mean lifted the most important plot point and just changed it slightly for the original characters. That's original, right? Right? And that's another problem that bothered me. Its plot twists, even if you never played the game, the anime blatantly copies, can be seen coming from the next town over. Subtlety? What's that? And the action was very lackluster, even in the final battle where there was little to no tension. And some of the time they felt as cheap as the animation, due to either not showing special moves on screen, or panning away to something else. The ending didn't fare much better either. It was a letdown, as the climactic battle that could have been ended with little resistance by a Deus Ex Machina weakness, and nothing short of convincing the antagonist that they were wrong. Yeah, very underwhelming considering that they had servants like these cool creepy monsters as their minions. A cool concept that wasn't set up well, with a payoff and ending that was just... So you're probably thinking that you shouldn't watch this series. Well, despite all its flaws, it's not the worst thing I've watched, and it's pretty harmless. Personally, I say if you're curious or if you're a fan of Eternia, then give it a watch to see what you think. Just don't go in with high expectations, expecting something of epic proportions, and consider it as an extra side story, unrelated to the original. It's an island getaway anime with some harmless fun in the sun, a coincidental way to start and end the first of our Tales of Summer Anime Month. Please kill me.